And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're now at part 4 of this week's new comics, bitches! So let's jump right back into it. Going to touch on a title that I didn't really make a whole lot of notes on, but I did read and thought was really cool, and that was Villains for Hire, #1. No new book from Marvel, basically kind of countering, the counterpoint to Heroes for Hire. And I don't have the physical copy with me because anyway. But anyway, it's a really interesting looking book, and I'm really looking forward to reading more. It's Abnett and Lanning, who are kind of, I don't know, just doing double duty. They're doing it for DC, and also they're doing it for Marvel. So I guess crossing the aisle is not too big of a deal for these guys. But it's just conceptually, it's an interesting book to actually, to have someone, to have something out there that is essentially, a counterpoint to the Heroes for Hire. And the way that every character is set up, as far as, Black Panther, who's not really a hero for hire, but Misty Knight kind of running the whole thing, kind of being their oracle, if you will. And, having the different heroes, take down the person that they're after, and the way they're all kind of called in, and then some of these villains kind of getting together to decide themselves, maybe we should rent out our own services. So it's just an interesting book, and I do recommend it. So moving along, Moon Knight #7. Okay, so I love this book, man. This Moon Knight is just terrific. It's great stuff. Because we have in this issue we have Mark Spector calling in his support team, of Buck, his kind of security expert guy who was the former agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Echo a little bit, but also his other support team. But there's a great moment that where Buck and Mark are speaking, and he's talking about I don't know if you're bipolar, if you have Asperger's or what, and Mark just says kind of flat out, I hear voices. And Buck asks, what do the voices tell you to do? And they say, in general, make the world better. And and basically he goes on to say, do you think that we who dress up in costumes, that we're somehow normal? No, we're all crazy. But we're the exact kind of crazy that the world needs right now. So basically what we've got here is they're setting a trap, using techniques that even Nick Fury would call inhumane. And we have the identity revealed to us of the big bad, and that is ultimately Count Nefaria, who I didn't know was a mutant, and maybe that's bad of me. But I never really knew that he was a mutant. I just thought he ran the Magia, because they couldn't call it the Mafia back in the 70s. But what Bendis is done with this book that's so great, because if we look back just a couple of years, about I think 2005, to when Charlie Huston and David Finch were doing this book, they took the crazy and they made it really crazy. I mean, Mark Spector was a total fucking lunatic, and you couldn't identify with him. There was nothing about him that seemed, it was a much more hard-boiled take on the character, but ultimately it was very alienating. I ultimately didn't end up really caring about that book because I didn't care about Moon Knight, because he was just too far fucking gone. And what Bendis has done is he has actually ratcheted back the crazy, but in other areas he's amped it up. So he's saying, he's still hearing voices, he still has multiple personalities, but instead of them being, kind of these, the crazy who puts on, General Bushman's, sliced off face and everything like that, and wears it to bed with Marlene. He's adapting the personalities of Captain America, Wolverine, and Spider-Man, and he's kind of his mentality has kind of co-opted that behavior so that it will make him a better hero. It will make him a better Avenger. Because ultimately he is. He is an Avenger. He's not just a jokey West Coast Avenger. He's a secret Avenger too. So, this is somebody that Steve Rogers trusts with his life. So this is the kind of guy that maybe we should pay attention to a little bit more. And ultimately, his sting does work, at least to some extent. They flush out the bad guy, the main bad guy here, whoever, basically who is setting himself up as the kingpin of Los Angeles, by using the Ultron head as a playing card. And, Bendis, his work on this series, and of course Maleev working with him, it's magical stuff. It's really great. I could not have asked for a cooler Moon Knight series. I really couldn't. Because, as much as I admire this stuff from the early days, with, Bill Sienkiewicz doing art, and I think it was Doug Munch who was writing at that time. That was cool stuff, but, back in the, 70s and the early 80s, but this is a lot better. And it's certainly a lot better than the stuff that was coming out back in about 2005. So, anyway, moving forward, AmVam, American Vampire, 20. That's what I thought. I knew it was number 20. So, okay. So, The Beast in the Cave, Part 2. Now, this is basically Scott Snyder taking on the beginnings of Skinner Sweet's, well, not the beginnings of his life, but the earlier parts of his life before he was even really an outlaw, and certainly before he was a vampire. And Jordy Bennett, who's doing the art for this, is, the art's really, it's very Vertigo-y, it's very beautiful. It reminds me actually a lot of Francesco Francavilla, who's someone that, but also it's almost kind of mixed with like Bruce Timm art. It's really cool. And what we have in this particular book is we have this tale of this young Native American girl who was purchased, whose husband purchased her, and when she was 5 years old, and eventually was a servant, became his wife, and became ultimately what might very well be the first American vampire. And it is very much her story throughout the book, and it's amazing and wonderful because this character is so rich, and ultimately she is the beast in the cave. That's who they're referring to, because the tribe that Skinner and all these other Union soldiers are after, that they intend to fight and destroy, with the cavalry. They are all they know they outnumber them, but they want an edge, and ultimately the beast in the cave is going to be that edge. And it's a beautiful book from beginning to end. The story is, it's so goddamn good. But it becomes so much more than just attempting to tell an earlier tale of Skinner Sweet's, life, pre-vampirism. And this is where it really does become and really goes off into where Scott Snyder basically is saying, I'm going to transcend this genre of just doing a vampire tale, and I'm going to do it throughout history. throughout the history of throughout the history of America. And you know, and not that I'm saying that, not that I should say that he hasn't done that the whole way through, but this is where it's actually becoming stronger. It's picking up more and more and more steam as far as as far as its narrative structure is concerned, and it's just become a tighter book altogether. And it's become, with it's like the Survival of the Fittest offshoot, which I fucking loved. And this book, at its very core, which is just adorable. I mean, for $2.99, I mean, this is a fucking steal. If you're not reading American Vampire, start. I mean, there's just nothing else that I can say about it. Start reading this book. It's awesome. It's Scott Snyder. He's the best storyteller currently working at DC. Okay, it doesn't get more simple than that. Everything his name is on right now, and for a while, is gold. You can bet on it. You can bank on it. It's incredible. It's awesome. And so just start getting his stuff. It's that good. Okay. So now we're going to get to the really, 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 I'm missing something here. Sorry. Okay. The Boys, number 60. So we've got, I wrote down here, from pets to porno to presidents to perverts, this issue's got it all. Because, you have basically, because they're all involved, because, we have to deal with the death of Terror, Billy's dog, which was pretty fucking stupid of whoever did it. We're also dealing with, MM goes into an absolute fucking rage because he finds out that his baby mama and their daughter are now doing mother-daughter porn. And we've also got this little trip, this little thing to do with the White House, in which they're looking at special pets. And of course, that tends to mean something else to to Garth Ennis, because he doesn't mind pulling out the retard card in any way that he can, at least in this book. Whether you call them people with special needs or whatever you call them, he goes for full-out retard. And, it's a lot of making fun of Vic the Veep and so on and so forth, but, they're playing with these unusual animals. And one of them just happens to be a wolverine in a little cage. And the president, he's kind of suspicious of what's going on with the people around him, but he opens up this wolverine cage, and out leaps this wolverine that literally tears his face off and kills the president of the United States. So Vought American, who basically owns Vic the Veep, now he's going to be in power. He's sworn in, and Vought American now owns the highest office in the land. So what this means for the boys might be something really different. But, there's a lot of different things going on in this book right now. And then we've got this other pervert team that, their names are like, Astroglide and Trojan and, just all of these, obviously double meaning names. When you actually do see them, it does make a little bit more sense. They're not really perverts, at least, the way that they present themselves, but obviously their names are really perverts. So, I mean, again, Garth Ennis kind of, he's straying away from the more emotional edge that he's given to Butcher Baker Candlestick Maker, and going more towards the, this is still the, these are it's the fucking boys, and I'm going to, I'm going to screw over every idea that you ever had about, about superheroes. So it's still fun, it's still a good read, and stay tuned, because we've got just a little bit more coming up. Stick around.